Vladimir Putin there wrapping up that impromptu press conference taking place inside the Kremlin, I suspect, in Moscow. He said the Kiev government is failing to implement our agreements. We have recognized the borders of the two regions, Luhansk and Donetsk. We will be using armed forces abroad. He has confirmed what has happened away from that scene that you were just looking at inside the upper house of the Russian parliament. This includes military assistance to perform all our obligations, he said.
The request that the agreement that he signed last night first went to the parliament, the Duma here earlier today, and that was ratified and signed by MPs. And then there was this request that we hadn't heard at all anything about until we heard that the upper house of parliament was convening a special session to vote on what Vladimir Putin had asked of them. His request was to approve troop deployments outside of Russia. And the parliament met very quickly, and in, I would say, less than an hour, the senators all voted, 153 of them unanimously, to approve Vladimir Putin's request. And he is, of course, the commander-in-chief in this country.
Secretary Blinken, who was speaking at a press conference with his Ukrainian counterpart, simply said that it did not make sense right now to hold that meeting with Sergei Lavrov, given the wholesale rejection of diplomacy by Russia. He said that basically the Russians were showing no sign of good faith, that they were simply saying that they were going to meet, but they had no intentions on actually negotiating in good faith, and that the developments on the ground, the recognition by Vladimir Putin of those two separatist regions as independent, as well as the talk of troops, Russian troops in those regions, that all of that made this meeting and made this diplomacy, at least for now, really not possible.
It's been contentious since the day it was proposed. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline was due to bring gas from Russia to Western Europe, but now it faces a shutdown before it's even begun operations. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Tuesday that he was putting its approval on ice. He says the situation has to be reassessed in light of Russia's actions in Ukraine. The decision is sure to please Washington. Successive US administrations have opposed the pipeline, saying it makes Europe dangerously dependent on Russian supplies. Nord Stream 2 was also strongly opposed by Ukraine, which earns transit fees from the current line running through its territory.
Today, the UK is sanctioning the following 5 Russian banks: Rossiya, IS Bank, General Bank, Promsyaz Bank, and the Black Sea Bank. And we are sanctioning 3 very high net worth individuals: Gennady Timchenko, Boris Rottenberg, and Igor Rottenberg. Any assets they hold in the UK will be frozen. The individuals concerned will be banned from travelling here. And we will prohibit all UK individuals and entities from having any dealings with them.
A high-ranking official at South Korea's presidential office clarified today that a deployment of troops or other military support to deal with the Ukraine crisis is not under consideration. Speaking to reporters Wednesday on the condition of anonymity, the official said the presidential office is looking at what Seoul can do to help, while closely watching what the future holds and how the crisis could affect South Korea. When asked whether South Korea has been requested by the U.S. to join the sanctions against Russia, the official said it's long been understood what Washington's sanctions against Moscow would be, noting that the U.S. has called on its allies for cooperation.
We start off with the latest coming in from Sri Lanka. The government has run out of cash to buy fuel. Most of the pumps at the filling stations across the country are running dry. On Monday, 2 shipments of fuel arrived in Sri Lanka, but the country was unable to pay for it The situation is so dire that the government does not even have adequate US dollars to pay for fuel that it's buying now. It's now trying to arrange a payment of $35 million for a shipment of 40,000 tons of diesel. On Monday, the energy minister said that only a few days of stock is left.
Tonight, the trial begins for a doctor accused of murdering his patients by overprescribing fentanyl.
His actions were not mere accidental or medical negligence. They were, in fact, murder.
Former Ohio doctor William Husel walked into court Tuesday morning hand in hand with his wife. The 46-year-old now faces 14 counts of murder and has pleaded not guilty.
Many were not in a position to feel discomfort, pain, or agitation. Nonetheless, they were administered large doses of fentanyl without being medically indicated.
Those 14 people, ages 39 up to 82, died at Mount Carmel Health in Columbus, Ohio, between 2015 and 2018.
Now, the United States will soon have a truckers' protest of its own inspired by their Canadian counterparts. U.S. truck drivers are gathering in California and planning to drive over 2,500 miles to Washington, D.C. to protest against COVID restrictions and mask mandates. The organizers call themselves the People's Convoy, and the drive to Washington is expected to take 11 days to complete and the cost of thousands of dollars in gas and lost earnings. The drivers, however, think that their cause is worth the sacrifice.
It's a bizarre sight. Thousands of dead sardines and anchovies washed up on a beach in Donetsk, Chile, off the coast of the Caliumo Peninsula. The town's mayor, Ivan Rivas, says these waters are not for swimming. Some locals say they came out around midnight to discover the wild sight. Environmental officials are investigating water quality in the area so they can determine what exactly caused the incident.